Right now you're watching Lancaster County Democrats. Our guest today is Stephen McFadden, or I'm terrible at pronouncing names.
McFadden is probably the way that lots of people
Tell
say
us
it. In Ireland,
correct.
We say McFadden.
Okay, McFadden. And tell us again the name of your book.
The Coal of the Land, an Agrarian Primer for the 21st Century.
Okay. And so, what is meant by clean food? This is something I see come up.
Well, clean food is the way I began to talk about clean food. I mean, in a certain sense, it's self-explanatory. The term organic got very politicized in the 1990s, and what are allowable additives. For me, I want food that has nothing added other than the goodness of the cook's intention and some delicious herbs and spices. But when I get carrot, I want carrot, and I don't want it to have chemical residue, and I don't want it to be genetically engineered. I want it to have been cultivated in a good, healthy relationship with the earth, and that's what I mean by clean, unadulterated.
You talked about genetically modified plants, and can you go and tell us what maybe some of the hidden dangers are with that? Do you have any insights in that?
It's a vast subject, and of course likely to be a very controversial one here in Nebraska and across the High Plains, where so many people lives are dependent on growing and producing genetically modified crops. And so I'm not going to go too deeply into it, but I want to refer back to the seventh generation teaching and say genetically modified foods raise questions. And I think every consumer and every farmer and every processor needs to ask those questions not only for themselves in the short run, but for their children's children's children under the seventh generation. And more studies are coming forward saying the questions that are being raised need to be pressed, because there are in fact grave problems that become apparent over the long term.
What kinds of problems?
Well, I think one interesting thing, of course, is weed killers. One of the main reasons for producing genetically modified crops at the moment is that they can withstand weed killers. And when we spray this chemical poison over the earth, it kills all the other plants, but not the chosen ones that have the genetic modification. Well, what's beginning to happen is that the bacteria in the soil is mutating in response to these heavy, repeated doses of chemical poisons. And so we're having mutant bacteria and life forms. A teaspoon of soil holds billions of life forms, and they're changing in response. So, 100 years down the road, what are the consequences going to be? I don't have the answer, but I do have the question. It does concern me, and I'm not ready to go the genetically modified route. And I think every consumer and every farmer needs to regard it from that point of view.